All right, hey guys, so it's a beautiful day. I just wanted to do some quick planting real quick, and I wanted to show you how I do it at my own personal house. So if you came to the nursery and I tell you all this stuff and I give you the drawing you know, you're still confused, and here you are. So let me show you how to do that real quick. At the end of this row, it's going to be 20 black-eyed Susans, 20 Maynight Salvia. I hope the audio is good on this. There is a lot of birds.
We'd be crazy to ignore it.
To ignore what? The bird war? And
a lot of wind. So I've got my fuzzy little buddy here, and hopefully you guys can hear this. So let's get to it. So the spacing is black-eyed Susan over here, and then we've got a Maynight Salvia that is the next one to go in the ground. Now don't worry about Miley Cyrus coming to your house and smoking all your salvia.
Okay, so apparently she wasn't smoking marijuana, she was smoking something known as salvia.
It's a different type of salvia, so this stuff won't be on her radar. It's going to be purple, right? So it'll be on my radar because my favorite combination is orange and purple. Or yellow and purple, you know. Where they fit on the color wheel really depends a lot on the colors that I go with. So, so I think this is going to be a fantastic combination. We're going black-eyed Susan, Maynight Salvia, black-eyed Susan, Maynight Salvia. Let me just show you how it's done. So I've got the black-eyed Susan is behind me, and we're going to go to the Maynight Salvia. So I get the kind of general vicinity, and I clear away the mulch, and I get down to the...
So anyways, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Bare soil down here. So I built this berm about the beginning of November is when I built this berm. I planted the weeping snow fountain cherry that's right here. I planted that. It was 25-gallon. I'm still licking my wounds after paying for that one, but I planted that sort of towards the end of November, and it's in full, well, not quite full bloom yet. My neighbor's weeping cherry, which is about 35 feet tall, that one is in full bloom, and it's absolutely stunning. So the purpose of that was plant this on the corner, you know, on kind of a plateau that I built for this corner, and let it just be the specimen for the spring. Let it welcome us into the spring along with the daffodils and things like that, and let us start getting excited for the change in weather. So I've got my spacing. I give a little boop kind of in the general vicinity. Grab my super shovel, small but mighty, and then I just create a wedge. You just kind of create a wedge. Now, you're not on your hands and knees when you do it for the Forest Service. You have a tool, and then you drop your shrub in. But kind of the same principle. So I've got my inoculant. So remember, you can use the one step. You could also use Biotone, which is another really good one here. This is a little bit more expensive to use because the spore count is so much higher. So it's basically using 2 tablets, and I'm using about a tablespoon or an ounce of the inoculant, which is beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria. And I'm going to show you where I'm going to get the soil that I'm going to inoculate here in a second. So, you know, obviously you could use your native soil, but with this method that I've been using, so see, like a lot of these plants, when you get them, especially in the spring, they're not fully grown into their 1-gallon pots. So, you know, if you just shake them a little bit, it really just, the soil just kind of falls apart. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of giving it a spin, right? And then vibrating it a little. Bit, and it's pretty gentle. Like, you don't see a whole lot of roots falling out in the bottom, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get those roots to kind of untangle and get longer. I'm not cutting them. I'm not tearing off half of the root ball. I mean, you should hear some of this stuff. I had a guy tell me a couple days ago that he puts shingles down before he plants to keep the weeds out. What? The stuff I hear.
I'm not listening to you. You're crazy.
So anyway, so here you go. So look at that. Now it's kind of untangled, and you get those roots deeper. And you get them deeper in the profile where it's cooler, right? So I've created a very deep wedge shape down here, and I'm just gonna set this to the side real quick. And I'm gonna tear my packet open. I'm gonna put about a tablespoon in here. And I just try to make this last 4. I mean, that's not precise, but mix it up a little bit. Now, the cool thing about this is I've evenly distributed the fungal spores now that I've got it all turned up a little bit, and I can inoculate, right? Kind of the inside, kind of on the edges, right? Because it's sticking to the side. And let me get a little bit in this chunk of native soil that's right next to it. When I say native soil, I mean sifted topsoil that I built this berm with. So this isn't typical Missouri Springfield digging, which is usually completely covered in rocks. So, and now I'm just going to start kind of pressing down and locking those roots deeper into the profile, right? Because I've got my level. See, I'm holding it. Right, I'm holding it at the level that I want it to be at. So then I can just put dirt, soil around it. I'm just gonna pop the rest in. Now that's the growing medium that the nursery used. I'm blocking you guys, I'm sorry. And then, I mean, it's pretty, once you tap it in a little bit, it's pretty firm. Now the tablets, put them on either side. Down there, and we're just gonna hold the foliage and then just mulch around it. There we go. Well, that's one down. I mean, I've done 23 or 4 of them, but I kind of want to show that to you guys. Okay, I'm gonna do one more for you, and this will be a black-eyed Susan. Okay, be back in a second.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna do our second one. I've moved the microphone. I hope the audio is better on this one. I tried to shoot a video on pruning. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. The wind was just so crazy. So I've got the funny little sock thing on there now for the wind. So we'll see. I'm not a professional YouTuber.
Understatement is the description of something as having much less of a particular quality than it does.
So I've got the Maynight Salvia over here. Now I'm kind of wanting to start to move it this way a little bit. So I kind of go to the center of the plant with my dowel. I kind of give a little indicator over there. Get down to the soil. Measure again. Give myself a little boop. Get my small but mighty planting shovel here. Create a wedge. Now, this is the part that I think you're really going to be impressed with. So, let me show you when I pull this out. So this is a new black-eyed Susan. I'm just going to start turning it a little bit, right? I'm being very gentle. I'm barely turning this, and the soil is just falling out of it. So I'm going to give it some taps. And from the grower standpoint, at Carson's, I burned through the black-eyed Susan. I burned through it. Now, granted, I bought 20 of them, but this is dollar for dollar my favorite plant, so of course I pass that on to other people because I know it's going to impress them. Okay, so look at that. Look at the length of those roots on here. I'm going to try to get closer. Wow. So, I mean, that's almost, geez Louise, that's like the size of the largest smallmouth bass I've ever caught right there, all the way to my elbow. So from the tips of my fingers all the way down to my elbow, that's how long the roots are. So, I mean, that's the perfect depth, and I thought this might be a little too deep. So we're just gonna set this to the side, right there. I've got my tablets already out because I have a tendency to forget those. But if you forget to put your tablets in, don't worry. Just push them down on the other side. And you do this about 5 or 6 times, it's gonna resonate with you. You're like, uh-oh, right? Or you're gonna have extra ones in the bag, but don't let that bother you because I'm not so good at the numbers and the counting. So maybe I put extra ones in there, I don't know.
Oh, he's an imbecile, probably from birth. Man's a complete idiot.
So I've got my soil in there. There's a little bit more than normal. I've got my inoculant, about a tablespoon for a 1 gallon, about half a bag for a 3 gallon. And I don't necessarily always, you know, shuffle the soil around, but for 1 gallon, I kind of like to do that, especially this early in the year, because they're not grown in as much as they will be 2 months from now when they're coming from the nurseries. You know, because they're growing 10,000 of them, and you say, hey, I need 55 black-eyed Susans this week, and that's what they send you. A lot of times that's what you're going to get, which is fine. That's fine. This thing will still get 2 feet, you know, in each direction. So I'm just going to kind of set it down, and I think I kind of want it to hang about right there. So that's where I want it to just hang. Now, I like to keep my bucket close by so I can just kind of inoculate, you know, get some fungal spores in the native soil. And now I'm just going to start kind of just pushing it around and making sure that those roots stay deep. And now, I mean, look at that. So we're using the soil that came with it, you know, and now we're just going to kind of press it in and then use our mulch that we pushed along to the side. Clean up our hip marks from when we planted those other ones. Yeah, small but mighty. I'm telling you, these little black-eyed Susans, get them early, get them in the ground during the spring rain. I mean, it's going to rain later on tonight. That's why I thought it'd be such a good time to come out here and plant. So I'm rushing around. I was at work until about 12:30 this, you know, earlier today. I show up to work at, you know, 5:50 to get my paperwork out of the way, nail it, and I was like, okay, today is the day that we're going to film some videos and we're going to plant some plants. I'll tell you what, I am so excited for what this is going to look like mid-July, you know, late July, middle of August. I mean, I'm stoked because both of these plants, the Maynight Salvia and the black-eyed Susan, both of these are going to like the heat. I mean, they really dig it. Now, the Maynight Salvia, sometimes you got to go in and cut them back because they have a tendency to kind of fall over. But hopefully, the introduction of the mycorrhiza and how nutrient-rich the soil is going to be with the 2-year fertilizer tablets and the root stimulator and the combination of those 3 things, hopefully I should get a lot more robust growth, and it should fill those holes, you know. Because remember, plants are a business, so if it lays over, it's going to take advantage of that market share now, because that market share, that sunlight is going to be hitting those stems in a different way where there wasn't leaves before, and then it's going to start growing limbs out or leaves out. So to take advantage of that market share, because they're just a business. I'm really excited to see what this is going to look like, because this wasn't a cheap project for me to pull through myself. And then almost $400 in plants. So, like, remember when I talk about plants being expensive? Plants are expensive. So, yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks a bunch. I hope this technique works for you. And look, find your own voice when it comes to planting. This has nothing to do with right, wrong, indifferent. I don't like to slice the sides of my perennials. You know, even if they're root bounds, I would rather dunk them in a 5-gallon bucket filled with root stimulator, chemically do the same thing, but on a smaller scale. So, you know, I think root stimulator is going to encourage those roots to go out, along with the fertilizer tabs and the beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria. I don't think you should ever skimp on any of that. I would, if I couldn't have afforded to buy those products, I would have dumbed down the amount of perennials I purchased, and I would have spread them out even further, because I just really want my plants to thrive. I don't just want them to survive. That doesn't work for me. Surviving plants, I can see that in a meadow. I want thriving plants. That's why, people say that they love driving by your house, or they love walking by your house, because it's so pretty, because your plants are thriving. They're not surviving. So they're doing both, but you know what I'm saying. So thank you very much for letting me into your home to talk about plants. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.